Most of us are totally clueless of the covert war that's being waged against us. Therefore, those who know the truth must teach. African proverb. The reason why the current, more blatantly racist Republican administration is now fortifying the system of white supremacy by further erasing the history of black people is because the system of white supremacy has been built upon a false version of history that falsely gives the white society credit for all historical achievements made by black people. Sustaining that false version of history is essential for maintaining white social dominance. All societies function based upon the history taught within the society, and the history we've been taught has been whitewashed to sustain the system of white supremacy. The white society sits upon a throne of white exalting lies that serves, protects, and empowers the system of white supremacy. The nefarious practice is called Orwellian propaganda. Orwellian propaganda describes societal conditions created and sustained by false information, disinformation, misinformation, distortion of facts, denial of truth, and even the manipulation of the past to falsely exalt the white society. The following are a few examples of this practice. White governed schools presently miseducates us to believe that Thomas Edison, a white inventor, is responsible for lighting up the world. But the true fact is that after Edison patented his light bulbs, no companies purchased it nor mass produced it. This is because it was deemed not efficient enough. It lit very dimly and only lasted a few minutes. The inventor, whose light bulb was purchased by the U.S. Electric Company in 1881, then mass produced, and this inventor was then dispatched around the world to oversee its installation, was actually, in fact, an African American inventor named Lewis Latimer. Therefore, in reality, it was actually a black man that lit up the entire world. Lewis Latimer literally wrote the book on electric lighting, and he holds the patent for the first electric lamp. Lewis Latimer also wrote the blueprint plans for Graham Bell's telephone. The white society has also miseducated us to believe that the Wright brothers are responsible for building the first aircraft in 1909. However, the hidden fact is that before the Wright brothers flew their aircraft in 1909, a black man named Charles F. Page had already invented, patented, and flown an aircraft 3 years earlier in 1906. The white society has also taught us that Henry Ford invented the first automobile. However, it was actually an African American inventor named Charles Richard Patterson that built the first automobile. The C.R. Patterson and Sons Company started out as a carriage building firm in 1873. He and his sons converted the company from a carriage business to an automobile manufacturer. They started making automobiles before Henry Ford and sold the first one for $850. It had a 4-cylinder Continental engine. C.R. Patterson's automobiles were considered much more sophisticated. However, C.R. Patterson and Sons were forced out of business by Henry Ford in 1939. It's by deliberate design that most people are unaware of these historical facts. These facts have been deliberately expunged from public records and omitted from our whitewashed history books through the white society's Orwellian propaganda campaigns. White historians justify the unethical practice of whitewashing all facts as merely being the spoils of war, thus saying that it's customary for conquerors to distort facts and rewrite history to favor themselves. However, the true reason it's being done is much more self-serving of the white society. The true reason it's being done is because, according to white social scientists, in order for a dominant group to maintain its position of social dominance within the society, that the history taught within the society must exalt the dominant group, therefore endorsing their position of social dominance. This whitewashing of history is actually designed to create and sustain false assumptions within the society that aids in maintaining white social dominance. And as a result of this Orwellian propaganda campaign, the collective self-image and collective self-esteem of the white masses has been falsely bolstered at the expense of those of the black masses. This Orwellian propaganda campaign is at the heart of the internalized false feelings of superiority that many whites possess. According to white social scientists, truth is not important for steering a society towards an applied objective. What's only important is what's perceived as being true, because people function based upon their perceptions of what's true. Therefore, the narratives fed into the white society has been whitewashed to create and sustain false perceptions within society that aids in maintaining their white social dominance and their white social capital. This practice of distorting facts to falsely give whites credit for most achievements made by black people has been repeated many times throughout the entire history we've been taught. Through their monopoly over information that are fed into a society, the white oppressors have manipulated millions to believe that most inventions that revolutionized the world have came from the minds of Caucasians, and to perceive it that black people are the leeches of society that haven't contributed much throughout history. This false perception aids in maintaining their social dominance over us. But the truth is the exact opposite from what they've manipulated millions to believe. The hidden reality is that in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the injustices of white racism and slavery, most inventions that have revolutionized the world were in fact either invented by black people or were directly inspired by earlier inventions by black people. Without black people, there would exist no motors, no automobiles, no airplanes, no helicopters. Without black people, we would not have skyscrapers. We only have skyscrapers because black people invented the elevator, the fire extinguisher, the fire escape ladder, air conditioning, and heating systems, which are essential in order for people to live or work within skyscrapers. Without black people, there would exist no internet, no cell phones. We wouldn't have cameras and microphones on our cell phones had it not been for black inventors. We wouldn't have the accurate weather forecasting system. We wouldn't have the cataract laser removal scope. There'd be no emails, no GPS, no hearing aids, no touch-tone phones, no caller ID, no home surveillance security system, no home game cartridges, no steam engines, no traffic lights. Without black people, there would exist no refrigerators, no refrigerated trucks, therefore no ice cream trucks, no blood banks, no dry cleaning, no lawnmowers, no doorknobs, no 3D movies, etc., etc. Black people have in fact enriched nearly every aspect of the lives of every person on this planet through our many inventions. But it's the true reality that most people aren't functioning based upon. The true reality is much different than the false version of reality that has been embedded into our collective minds. It's actually the genius minds of black people that moves the world forward. However, in order for black inventors to get their inventions mass-produced, they have no other options than to go before white companies. These companies acquires the right to these inventions and then places white faces in front of the invention. The Patent Office has also been used to steal the intellectual property rights from black inventors. These scenarios literally allows the white society to continue exploiting the intellectual genius minds of black people while maintaining the appearance that the inventions are coming from themselves. If you are not a critical thinker who rigorously engages in fact checking the validity of all information you receive from the white society, then they've already mentally enslaved you. And there's no exceptions to this fact. If you were a critical thinker who rigorously engages in fact checking, you would know that a fact that has remained consistent throughout history is that the oppressor's depiction of the oppressed is never a true one. It's always falsely negatively distorted to serve the oppressor's nefarious hidden agendas against the oppressed. You would also know that a Bible that strongly endorses the evils of slavery and that was written by Romans who routinely engaged in massive orgies and death sports is totally disqualified from containing the true words of infallible God. If you fact check, you would also know that in the U.S., the largest recipient of welfare, the largest benefactors of affirmative action, and the group that commits most violent crimes are in fact Caucasians. Your perception of reality is an elaborate white deception created by false information that's been repeatedly fed into your mind. It's what's called the illusory truth effect. White social science have thoroughly studied this science and have used it to create an elaborate prison for our minds. It's time to elevate. There are those who are working unrelentingly behind the scene to keep your mind dumbed down from the truth. And moreover, they've programmed millions of you to hate those of us who are trying to free your minds from their lies. Brothers and sisters, it's time to wake up to our reality. One love and peace.